Live from WTVO 17 and your home team. Eyewitness News at 5 starts now.
Byron nuclear power plant employees brace for a decision on the future of their careers. New paperwork means hundreds could soon be out of work.
Illinois invests in early education. Students hoping to one day become specialized teachers get a boost from the state.
I think everything has to be perfect, and when it's not, in my mind, I feel like it's not good.
Many local athletes feel the same pressures as Olympians. A gold medaling gymnast's decision to focus on her mental well-being is inspiring those here in the U.S. Good evening, I'm Mimi Murphy.
And I'm Eric Wilson. 2 Illinois nuclear plants inch closer to closure. We've
told you before, Exelon's Byron and Dresden facilities are on the chopping block. The companies filed new reports signaling plans to retire the plants. Exelon's chief nuclear officer tells us the decision was made because there are no signs of a breakthrough on clean energy legislation in Springfield. Staff will be phased out at both plants over the next 10 years, from the current 1,500 employees to less than 50. Byron is scheduled to shut down in September. Exelon Generation, the owner and operator of the Byron and Dresden nuclear energy facilities, is filing post-shutdown decommissioning activity reports.
Exelon announced it's preparing to issue job reduction notifications to employees. Rachel Perry spoke with community members. Now that a possibility we've told you about for months seems closer to reality. Rachel?
That's right, Mimi and Eric. The filings are some of the final steps in retiring the plant. I spoke with a local business owner who tells me this is heartbreaking for the community.
Well, we're going to have to work a lot harder. Our family will struggle a little bit.
Nina Croak's family owns Costas Pizzeria in Byron.
Today's news was definitely a gut punch, so to speak. It was a little devastating.
They cater events and holiday parties for the Byron nuclear plant. She believes the closure will be a significant pay cut for them and the community.
Taxes are going to go up, bills are going to hike, the housing market's going to crash. It's not going to be good for our community.
Her emotions are all over the place.
It's a roller coaster of emotions. At first, I think it was panic, then it was frustration, and now I think this might be a little sad time. People might have to think of selling their homes and leaving a community they've lived in for many years.
Was really expecting that this plant was going to stay open for its full lifetime.
John Rickard is the mayor of Byron. He remembers when the plant came to the city.
When the plant opened, Byron was a town of about 1,200 people. It's now a town of about 3,800 people. The town grew and became kind of a great place to live.
He says the shutdown will ultimately mean losing people and business in Byron.
Those folks come and use our gas stations, our restaurants, our grocery stores too. So it brings in a lot of business.
And after 30 years in Byron, Croak says her father is nervous for the future.
He's thankful for this community, and he's sad to see the nuclear plant go because he's afraid of the negative impact it might have on our area.
Mayor Rickard tells me efforts to save the plant aren't over. He's still hoping for clean energy legislation to pass in Springfield. But as of today, there's no word on any bill. Eric?
Thanks, Rachel. Rockford narcotics officers get more drugs and weapons off the streets after a series of arrests. Tips from the community led investigators to 19th Street, where they secured a search warrant for a home. Detectives found cocaine, ecstasy, mushrooms, marijuana, and a lot of cash. These guns and ammunition were also retrieved. In all, police took in more than 40 firearms. 5 men were arrested during the drug bust, including a father and son, Keith Anthony Sr. and Jr. All of the suspects face multiple drug charges.
Those interested in pursuing a career in early childhood education get a boost in support for their own studies. Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker signed a bill aimed at strengthening the pipeline of educators by helping students get a degree. It's a $200 million investment for the state. Early childhood education majors in need of financial aid will receive training, mentorship, and scholarships.
The scholarships that we're funding today will reach about 5,600 child care workers and educators by 2024. People who otherwise may not have been able to complete their post-secondary degrees.
This is one of 3 education bills signed by Pritzker today. Coming up tonight on Eyewitness News at 6, hear how special education students will soon see more opportunities.
Gymnastics superstar Simone Biles withdraws from another competition at the Tokyo Games. Biles says it's been a stressful Olympics, not having an audience and feeling pressure to be #1.
Michelle Rave caught up with local gymnasts who say mental strength is just as important as physical. Michelle?
Simone Biles' decision to bow out of the team final and individual all-around is sparking conversations about prioritizing mental health. I spoke with one young gymnast who did just that. This is Annie Cole. She's 11 years old and has been a gymnast for 6 years. She says she has a few things in common with Olympic athlete Simone Biles.
I was telling myself I couldn't do this. I was not going to make it. I wasn't good enough for the sport. Just life, like I can't do anything. Telling myself there's no point in trying if you can't do it.
1, 2, 3.
I would say that this happens a lot with very talented athletes because they learn so much so fast that it's hard for the brain to keep up. And they're also the hardest on themselves when they have a problem like this because they expect so much.
Annie says she considers herself a perfectionist and has battled with her mental health for a year.
I just felt like I couldn't believe in myself when I went. So something that I tried to help myself with was just talking through it with my parents and my coaches, trying to make them understand what I'm going through.
Lori Ammett owns Gymnastic Academy of Rockford and says she discusses mental health with her students every week.
Still think you could see that second foot a little bit better.
Advocates say Biles' decision to step away will create conversations about mental health.
I would consider her even stronger for saying, hey, like I need my space and this is what I have to do for myself. And I think that that will role model into a bunch of different people.
With the help of her family, coaches, and counselors, Annie has been able to take on the things that made her doubt herself.
I feel amazing. I feel like I can believe myself whatever I want to do. I feel like if I put my mind to it, I can definitely do it.
If you or someone you know is struggling with mental health issues, there are plenty of resources available. You can find a list of those on mystateline.com. Eric.
Thanks, Michelle. Downtown Rockford is once again full of life after COVID shut community activities down last year. The city's played host to food truck events, movie nights, and concerts this summer. The Rockford Area Venues and Entertainment Authority says it's proud of this achievement. Board members expect even more activity downtown when the Coronado Theater reopens. Crews are preparing to set the stage for several upcoming shows.
We currently have 22 shows on sale right now in the Coronado. 9 of them are in October and 7 are in November. So you see the need to start ramping up and get ready to open the Coronado.
The Coronado's marquee is in the process of getting a facelift. It's set to get a fresh coat of paint and new LED bulbs to light up the night sky. The COVID-19 pandemic has taken a toll on big and small businesses across the nation. The meat industry is on that list.
Last week, we showed how a shortage is driving up prices locally. Today, Congress addressed plans to invest millions of dollars to expand the nation's meat processing capacity. Washington correspondent Rashad Hudson's keeping you connected to the nation's capital.
After seeing meat production slow and prices rise during the pandemic,
and the beef supply chain was not spared.
California Congressman Jim Costa welcomes the Department of Agriculture's new $500 million investment to expand beef, pork, and poultry processing capacities. Wednesday, a House committee heard from industry representatives, meat packers, and grocery supply partners about the remaining challenges.
Cattle inventory is falling. Feed prices have been rising. There's a drought in the West.
South Dakota Congressman Dusty Johnson says Congress needs to find long-term solutions to protect cattle farmers and called the COVID-19 relief funds a short-term fix.
That American ranchers have worked for generations to improve quality and efficiency so they can feed their fellow Americans and people all across this globe.
The meat industry not only faces the threat of rising costs, but also the growing threat of cyber attacks. Back in May, JBS Foods, one of the nation's largest meat processors, was hit by a cyber attack.
We cannot allow food security, which is national security, and the protecting of our food system from foreign interferences to be disrupted.
Costa wants Congress to take stronger steps to crack down on ransomware attacks to prevent economic damage. Reporting in Washington, Rashad Hudson.
Now, your first warned weather forecast with Chief Meteorologist Candace King.
Well, let's talk about the weather expected for tonight, because it could get dicey for some across the area. Not all of us expected to see the severe weather, but we'll really kind of watch here as we head into the early overnight hours. Kind of an upgrade to that risk for severe weather focused more across central, southern, southeast Wisconsin here this evening. We do see that extend a little bit into far northern Illinois, but I do think our greatest risk for severe weather kind of staying a little more focused east and northeast of Rockford. So let's look at what's going on right now. We've had the cloud cover in place for a lot of us this afternoon, where we're seeing that cloud cover thin out. You've got some haze mixed in with that. We had a couple of showers out there early on, but this is the area we're keeping an eye on across Minnesota, northern Wisconsin, for thunderstorm development over the next couple of hours. You see a few storms firing up here across far northern Wisconsin. Those not expected to be too severe, but we'll see those clusters kind of bubble up over the next few hours. It's that area and those storms that'll then kind of form into a line and a cluster of storms later this evening and quickly race across central and southern Wisconsin. So let's time this out. We'll start to see that activity increase over the next few hours, 8, 9 o'clock this evening. That's to the north of us in Wisconsin. This will continue to quickly race to the south through central southern Wisconsin as we get closer to midnight. So things here for the next several hours really expected to stay quiet. We could get an isolated shower thunderstorm here through this evening, but kind of watching more of the overnight hours closer to midnight and then thereafter. With the kind of motion and wind direction in the atmosphere with these storms to follow, I think we'll kind of see this go a little bit more into southeast Wisconsin, northeast Illinois. So that could very well put the strongest part of those winds a bit more focused to the east of us. Now, we do have to watch kind of the western edge of any of those thunderstorms as they may develop, or if these storms take more of a southward track versus a southeast track. That could really kind of line up areas here in south central Wisconsin and north central Illinois. But that timeline, again, going to be after midnight, could even be closer to 1 o'clock for some here early tomorrow, and then out of here once we get into that 4 o'clock time frame tomorrow morning. I still feel muggy tomorrow morning and really through the afternoon. That drier air comes in following that cold front for Thursday, so we'll start to see kind of things change a bit as far as that comfort level. It's very uncomfortable right now, and it'll stay that way through the morning hours tomorrow, but then dry out a little bit. We'll keep some of that cloud cover around for Friday as high pressure builds in. So our highest risk for that tornado wind threat, that is focused to the north in Wisconsin. Now that wind threat will start to increase a bit as we get a little bit further into Wisconsin, southeast Wisconsin, and portions of northern and northeast Illinois. Again, kind of depends on where exactly those clusters of storms line up and track. Right now might be a little more to the east and northeast, but either way, if we see that stronger storm threat move in, it's wind that we have to primarily be concerned with. Temperature-wise, heat index getting up over 100 degrees in some spots, especially to the west and southwest, so it's very uncomfortable out there. So you know we've got a lot of moisture and instability for these storms to work with, even at that hour. Temperature tomorrow still up near 89, but we see that drop in the numbers with the clouds for Friday, 79, back into the 80s on Saturday. Sunday, too, will stay in the upper 70s, low 80s, guys, as we head into next week.
Now, the Napleton Sports Desk with Sports Director Scott Lepper.
Aaron Rodgers is back in Green Bay, and in his first meeting with reporters today, he was as confident and bold at the microphone as he is on the field. He clearly spelled out some of the issues that he's had with management. So let's get into some of those issues that he addressed today. One is he wants to be used as more of a sounding board by the organization. He wants to share what he sees and senses in terms of team chemistry and which players he believes can most benefit the team. I'm all for that. Management will be crazy not to seek Rodgers' input on those things. Another issue Rodgers addressed is he thinks he should be used to help recruit free agents to Green Bay. Again, I think he's right on that one. He also said he was upset that the Packers would not give him a commitment beyond this coming season. Here's that comment.
A commitment for the 2021 season and beyond. That really wasn't given at any time. So for me, I had to assess the situation not necessarily wanting to be a lame duck quarterback, especially after an MVP season.
Again, that's totally understandable for Rodgers to want to know his future is in Green Bay. Now, here's a fourth issue that he brought up. Again, he knocked management for the way it's treated some veteran players over the years.
Also, I wanted to help the organization maybe learn from them some of the mistakes in the past, in my opinion, about the way that some of the outgoing veterans were treated, and just the fact that we didn't retain a number of players that I felt like were core players to our foundation. I'm talking about Charles Woodson, Jordy Nelson, Julius Peppers, Clay Matthews.
And Rodgers named a few more. Those are all players Packers fans remember fondly, guys Rodgers formed close bonds with. Some of those guys, though, did have a little left in the tank after they left Green Bay, but most of them didn't. Management is always seen as the bad guy when it comes time to move on from veteran players. But that's management's job to decide when it's the right time to bring in younger guys who can become more productive and who can become the next stars of the franchise. This was an interesting day in Green Bay. I think things can work out between Rodgers and management this season, but only if the Packers are winning. That's always the key. That's my take. We'll be right back.
Here's a look at what's to come on News Nation tonight.
Tonight on the Donlin Reporter, retired NFL star suddenly tackled by dementia. Why he blames the league for his failing health and how race played a role in not getting the money he says he's owed. That News Nation exclusive report tonight. Now here's Leland Vittert with a preview of On Balance.
Thanks, Joe. A state rep backed by Trump lost a key seat in Congress. Does the former president's blessing still carry weight? Is this a warning sign for the GOP next year? That's On Balance tonight, followed by News Nation Prime.
You can catch News Nation tonight on cable and satellite stations that you see here. You can also head to newsnation.com.
Now back to Candace for a quick final look at the forecast.
Our first WARN interactive radar brought to us by Rockford Auto Glass and more. Watch for those stronger thunderstorms later tonight.
Thanks, Candace.
And thank you for spending time with us. Stay safe.